Hello, this is Professor Brown-Sederberg, and what I'd like to do is just demonstrate a simple if statement. What I'd like to do is write a program that generates a random number between 1 and 100 inclusive, prints that number to the screen, and then tells the user if that number is an odd number. Now, I have the outline of a program here, and what we'll do, you notice we have a class called DemoSimpleIf, and we have our main method. What we'd like to do is generate an int called n, and I'd like that n, that int, to be a random number between 1 and 100 inclusive. Now there are a few ways to generate a random number. One of them is this. I'm going to import java.util.random, and that's a class that has a number of methods. One of them, several of them, one in particular we're going to use, allows us to generate a random number, an int. Now, the methods of the random class are non-static, and that means we have to have an instance of the class in order to use them, just as we have to have an instance of the class scanner in order to use the methods of that class. So I'm going to declare and create an instance of the class random that I'll call RNG for random number generator, and I'll have it declared with random RNG and created here with new random, and I assigned that newly created instance to RNG. So now I have RNG, an instance of the class random that can call the methods of that class. And the method that I'm interested in is nextInt. NextInt will return back a number between 0 and 1 less than the number passed into it. So I will assign to n the value returned when RNG calls the method nextInt and passes it 100. That will return back to me a number between 0 and 99, 100 numbers. What I'd like to have, though, is a number 0 through 100, not 1 through 99. My simple solution to that is to add 1 to the number returned by nextInt as it's passed 100. Now, with this addition of 1, I will have, saved into the space n, a number between 1 and 100 inclusive. What I'd like to do now is just simply print this to the screen, and we'll just say that the number generated was, and we'll concatenate the value of n, and that will print that to the screen. What I'd like to do now is print to the screen if the number n is odd. The easiest way to determine if a number is odd is to mod that number by 2. If the returned value is 0, we know the number is even. If the returned value is 1, we know it's odd. So I'm going to mod n by 2, and if that's equal to 1, I know that n is an odd number, and that's what I want to do in this program. Tell the user if n, the number generated, is odd. So I'm going to have a simple if statement, and if the condition associated with that if statement evaluates to true, with that if keyword, right? If that condition evaluates to true, I'm going to print the line associated with that if statement. And so I will print out that it is odd. Okay. Now I'm going to print out if it is odd, if it's true, that when I mod n by 2, what is returned back to me is equal to 1. So if n mod 2 is equal to 1, I will print out it is odd. Just that one single line. Now, with an if statement, the if statement looks at the condition. If the condition evaluates to true, the if statement then prints out the command up to the next semicolon. Only one line. If I want more than one line to be associated with this if statement, I need to enclose those lines with curly brackets, as I've done here. I encourage you to always put curly brackets after your if, even if you've just got one line, because what will happen is you'll write a program that will just have one line, not include the curly brackets, then add another line that you want executed if this if statement evaluates to true, and if you don't have the curly brackets, that's not going to happen. So just good programming, always put those curly brackets in before and after. right? Even if it's just one line. So let's see if our program will now compile. We get a clean compile, and we'll run it. And it tells us the number generated was 96. Nothing else prints. That seems right. The number generated was 10. Nothing else print. That's right. The number generated 22. Nothing prints. That's right. Here I have 77, and I have printed to the screen, it is odd. I'll run again. 27, it's odd. Another test. 75, it's odd. So here I have a simple if statement. If the condition evaluates to true, the associated line or lines of code will be executed. Thank you.